Hello everyone, today is 25th of March and welcome to the Hindu newspaper analysis. So guys, in the today's video, we are going to take up the entire analysis of the Hindu newspaper and the explainer PDF that I will be using here to explain you the articles. You can download that PDF from our Telegram channel. You can find the link for the Telegram channel in the description box. Moreover, there is also a pinned comment where you can find the Telegram link. Now, before moving on, first of all, let's see the overview of the newspaper to understand that which articles will be important for our UPSC preparation. Now, guys, understand that all the articles just simply because they are containing a one keyword are not important. Okay, unnecessary information should not be collected if you are seriously preparing for UPSC. This is something that you need to keep it in your mind. Now, the first article, government steps in to tackle Russian trade hurdles. Now guys, this article, it just contains a one-liner concept that now what has happened, the West has imposed the sanction onto the Russia. Moreover, we find that the Russian banks and the Russian many of the financial institutions have been banned from the SWIFT. They have been banned from the SWIFT, which is a secure messaging platform. Now, through which they can receive the international payments, the confirmation for which is sent to the SWIFT. Because of this, the Indian exporters, they are facing a lot of problem when they are exporting the goods with the Russia. There is a thriving trade between the Russia and India, so it is getting impacted. So how to revive the trade back again? So this is something that government is considering. Just this is, however, nothing concrete has come in this particular direction. Then guys, after that, moving on, nothing further important has been given. Marathi mandatory into the local bodies. Fine, nothing important with respect to our examination. Moving on. After that, guys, the advertisements etc. have been given into the city section. The regional news advertisements etc. are there. You need to avoid them completely. Supreme Court keen on ending the Mulla battle. So guys, this Mulla dam, many a time it has come into the news. So see, nothing is there. Supreme Court is saying that we should come out on some kind of a final conclusion. See, when we talk about this Mulla dam, guys, this particular dam is a very old dam. Okay, this particular dam is more than 120-year-old dam, and basically this is a very interesting story behind this particular dam. The Mulla dam. Actually guys, this particular dam is situated into the Kerala, but the dam is operated by the Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu operates the dam situated in Kerala, and the water is used for meeting the demands of the residents of the Tamil Nadu. Now guys, this particular Mullaperiyar dam is a very old dam. I told you that more than 120 years, exactly 126 years old dam. Now the Kerala says that the structural integrity of this particular dam is disturbed. The Tamil Nadu should not store more water in this particular dam because this dam can get failed. But again and again we have seen that the Tamil Nadu has stored the water, and they say that the storing water is very important for providing the water supply to their residents. So on this controversy is going on. Now nothing concrete has come. Fine, just the Supreme Court says that we should solve it. After that, guys, hijab row, Supreme Court asked to urgently list Karnataka as a plea. Nothing important. When the Supreme Court will give the final verdict, we'll see it. Then we come to the editorial page. The peculiar case of Ladakh's eastern boundary. So there are certain of the references with respect to the Ladakh's boundary and eastern boundaries have been mentioned. We'll see this. Then the time for India to redefine its relationship with Russia. Briefly, we'll see this article. Sealed jurisprudence, sealed justice. Fine. Then guys, crisis in Sri Lanka. Fine, we'll be seeing all these particular articles what they are talking about. Then, can a party grow nationally on a populistic plank? So guys, this particular article, it talks about that recently into the Punjab, the Aam Aadmi Party had emerged victorious. Okay, in this particular direction, the Aam Aadmi parties have promised many of the freebies. Okay, and it has been said that many a time such kind of strategy looks as a populistic tool where you just want to woo the electors, the voters. Can this thing work? So here the strategy of the different political parties, Shiromani Akali Dal, Aam Aadmi Party, BJP, fine, all these things have been discussed. Now the article is little bit political, not important for exam. After that, it is a notebook, okay, at the journal's pleasure, not important article for examination. Then guys, into the text and the context, now this entire page, it is filled with the increase into the prices that have happened with respect to the petrol and diesel. So we have seen that now as the elections have been over, the increase into the price and diesel have happened. Now guys, this particular article is is comparing as how the prices have emerged over the years, how the taxes has increased and all such kind of things. Now you don't need to go into such kind of a hairline data, because guys, all these particular things are not important for our examination. Just one concept you need to understand. What concept I am telling you guys? See this particular thing, that when we talk about the prices of the petrol and diesel, now the prices have become decontrolled. The prices, they behave in tandem with the international crude oil prices. If international prices will increase, in theory the domestic prices should increase. If the international price is decreasing, in theory the domestic price should reduce. But what had happened, government had done a lot of intervention, the government had done a lot of interference. What government has done? First of all guys, understand that in the past we have seen that whenever the crude prices have whenever the crude prices have increased, okay, the prices into the of the petrol and diesels have also increased. But when the reverse have happened, when the prices have crashed, the prices have not been reduced. Why? Because in proportion the government increases its excise duty, government increases its taxes. So this is one thing by which there is no proper kind of connection into the international prices and domestic prices. When increase is there, yes, they increase, but when decrease is there, the reduction is not passed on to the consumer because taxes are increased. Moreover guys, next thing that we have seen now recently is that the government has informally asked the oil companies to not to increase the prices if the elections are approaching. So here also we have seen that there is certain interference that have been done. Apart from that, just the prices and the data have been compared. Nothing is there in this particular page. Now after that, not important article for our UPSC examination, India abstains onto the United Nations General Assembly vote. Clearly guys, earlier also we have seen that the same strategy has been adopted by the India. Now whenever the resolution is being passed against the Russia, find India had abstained on this particular thing. Again, now the resolution was moved into the UNGA where the Russia was accused of carrying the invasion. Again, India had abstained. Why India is abstaining? India says that we are abstaining because we want to take a middle path. We want to solve this entire issue by the diplomacy and by talks. Fine. India's belief is that if they will say that the Russia is wrong, this will give support to the West. And if Russia will defeat this particular, if this particular resolution will be supported, it will give support to the West. And if it will completely be denied, it will give support to the Russia. India wants a diplomatic solution. So this is something. Now guys, 1 lakh students in study to assess class 3 literacy levels. Now nothing is there in this article guys. Basically, a survey will be done of the students to set the baseline for the numeracy mission. Now what had happened last year, the government came out with the Nipun Bharat Abhiyan. Now this Nipun Bharat Abhiyan wanted to ensure the universal literacy and numeracy for the class 3 children within 5 years. You guys know that many of the children in India, okay, many of the children in India, fine, though they are reading into the class, though they are in the class 3, they are enrolled there, but they are not able to read the text of class 1. So literacy and numeracy skills are missing. To build these numeracy and literacy skills, Nipun Bharat Abhiyan was started. Within next 5 years it will be completed. Now guys, a survey has to be done in order to see that what is the present skill in the children with respect to the literacy and numeracy, and to for this particular thing the survey will be done. Clear? Then guys, moving on, the political news, nothing important is given. Farm income fell, we'll see this article. India to be TB free by 2025, we'll see that what is being provided in this particular article. Then guys, the West to bolster Ukraine aid, nothing important has been given. Okay, just the evolutionary issues have been there. Fuel retailers lost $2.25 billion because of the price freeze. Okay, we have seen that into the last 130 days or so, the prices were not increased because elections were there. The fuel retailers, okay, they have lost this much money. Moody's says fine, but not very much important with examination. Clear? Then guys, again, the very evolutionary kind of things are there. And then we have the sports page. So this is guys all the overview of the entire newspaper, and now let's discuss all these articles one by one in the detail. Now starting up, so first we will be taking up the GS quote for the today. So today we'll take the quote from the Sanjay Kishan call. Okay, just a minute. Yes. So today we'll be taking the quote from the Sanjay Kishan Kaul, the judge of the Supreme Court. He says, criticism is also information, but boundaries need to be made. If you mistrust every system, then you do not have a system and all you have is anarchy. Now, guys, criticism is also an information, but we cannot just criticize anything that is coming. Sometimes we need to make sure that the criticism is a constructive criticism or just a criticism is being made to support the advocacy of the devil. So we need to understand constructive criticism is important. Okay, so this is a kind of a new dimension that has been talked about here. Guys, we can use this particular thing while authenticating or while supporting our answers where we are taking such a kind of a viewpoint. Now that is all. We'll be taking up the MCQ answers first of all for the yesterday. So question 1 correct answer is D and question number 2 correct answer is C. You can pause the video and can read the solution here. Now guys, taking up the MCQ questions for today. So first question is with respect to the International Solar Alliance. Clear? Recently the International Solar Alliance was in news, okay, because of the solar energy targets that came. We have taken article on this line. Please read the statement and identify the correct option. You can pause the video or can download the PDF. Then moving on, the second MCQ, it is with respect to the right to religion. It is because of the hijab controversy that was going on. Please read the statement and identify the correct option. So that is all about it. And now guys, let's discuss the articles. So the first article that we are taking up, okay, it is the crisis in Sri Lanka. Now this article has been taken from the editorial section, and this article will be important with respect to the GS paper number 2, issues in our neighborhood. Okay, now this particular article talks about the crisis that are going in Sri Lanka and how the ramification for India are being felt right now. So guys, let's see first of all why the crisis is there into the Sri Lanka. What is the reason for that? And then we'll be seeing the impact onto the India that is coming. So when we talk about the Sri Lankan economic crisis, it has begun more than a decade back, around 2010. When we see the condition of Sri Lanka, there was a lot of foreign debt onto the Sri Lanka, and here the economic stability was disturbed. Around 2010, the foreign debt increased to 88% of the Sri Lanka's GDP. This thing became even more worse, and by 2019, what had happened? This particular what happened since 2010, the economy got disturbed, and by 2019, 88% of the foreign debt of Sri Lanka, the foreign debt of Sri Lanka was equivalent to the 88% of the Sri Lanka's GDP. Now came the COVID-19 pandemic, and with the coming of the COVID-19 pandemic, the economic condition became even more problematic. Clear? The supply chains broke down, the exports broke down, okay, and the problems increased to such a thing that the Sri Lanka took more and more loan, and the foreign debt became 101% of the Sri Lanka's GDP. And this was the time when the foreign institutions started to distrust the Sri Lanka. They wanted their money back, but the Sri Lanka was not in the condition to pay back. Moreover, in 2019, what happened? The elections happened into the Sri Lanka, and the new government that came, okay, the government promised that they will make the tax cuts. This was a populistic promise that was made. Now, because of the tax cuts that were promised, what happened? The budgetary deficits into the Sri Lanka also increased. They were 5% in 2020, and they became 15% in 2022. Clear? What you have done? Your expenditures are high, but the source of money, it has been killed because the tax breaks have been given. This is one reason that the economic crisis also came. Then guys, the third reason that the economic crisis came is that what happened? The Sri Lanka in 2021 announced that they are moving to 100% organic farming, and for that particular thing they made a ban onto the inorganic fertilizer and pesticides into the 2021. Now by this, the agricultural production into the Sri Lanka has failed severely. Okay, their agricultural output had came down, and because of that the food shortage has also come in the Sri Lanka. Then after that, moving on, what had happened? Guys, this particular, even before the pandemic began in 2020, what happened? The Sri Lanka had asked that India should reschedule the payback of the loan. Okay, the India had given the loan to the Sri Lanka, and in 2020 the loan was to be recovered. Sri Lanka wanted that there needs to be more time that should be given to the Sri Lanka. Now, in the last 3 months, also particularly, we have seen that a support of more than $2.4 billion has been given by India. We have given a loan deferment of $500 million. We have given a line of credit of $1 billion also to the Sri Lanka. Now, guys, why we are giving such a support to the Sri Lanka? It is because that the Sri Lanka is becoming more inclined towards the Chinese camp. At the same time, the Sri Lanka is also approaching to the China. So, in order to counter the China, India had supported the support of more than $2.4 billion in the past. But it has also not solved completely the problems of Sri Lanka. Now, Sri Lanka is approaching the IMF, International Monetary Fund. Now, guys, when there is a basically when there is the current account deficit increases so much, and when you are not able to service your imports, you can go and take the support of the IMF. India had taken the support of IMF in 1991. So in 1991, our foreign exchange reserves, our foreign currency reserves became very much less. We have just the import cover of 2 weeks. Okay, just for the 2 weeks we can make the payment for our imports. And in that particular BOP crisis, we approached the IMF, and IMF helped India. And then IMF put the conditionalities also in India, and we went for the LPG reforms. Now, earlier Sri Lanka was not willing to go to the IMF to take the money, because there was also a BOP crisis that were coming. BOP means balance of payment. You are importing something, you have to pay back the money. For paying back the money, you need the dollars. You don't have dollars, you can go to IMF, take the dollars. This is the BOP financing that we can take. Now Sri Lanka also has their foreign exchange reserves have gone down. Earlier they did not want to go to IMF because IMF would have imposed certain conditions onto the Sri Lanka, as IMF have done on India in 1991. But now they don't have any option, and now they are approaching to the IMF. Is it clear? Now, guys, as this particular crisis in Sri Lanka is going on, the implication on Tamil Nadu are being felt. What are the implication? Recently, we have seen that 16 people, they have came illegally to India from the Sri Lanka. These are the refugees. Guys, already in the Tamil Nadu, more than 3 lakh Sri Lankan refugees are living. Now, if the situation will become more dire into the Sri Lanka, what will happen? More and more people from Sri Lanka will illegally come to the Tamil Nadu, and then that particular thing will pose a lot of problem onto the resources of the Tamil Nadu. Even if we see right now, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of impact on India has also come. How we will gather to them? This is a problem that will come here. Guys, we are already see that a kind of a refugee crisis is a big problem in the entire world. So the Sri Lanka can also become such a kind of a country if this problem is not solved immediately. Moreover, guys, understand this particular thing. The smuggling activities will increase, the trafficking will increase. Okay. Moreover, right now, as the Sri Lanka is in a particular kind of a situation, we can leverage this particular situation and we can increase the warmness between the Sri Lanka as well as the India. Now, in this particular circumstance, we can give a kind of a compassionate gesture, and we can look out for the solution for the Park Bay fisherman dispute and many other disputes. We can increase the warmness. So we need to take the leverage of this particular situation, and we need to solve the impending crisis that is going on. So this is, guys, the entire issue of this particular article. Now, many of these things are not directly mentioned into the article. We have taken some additional content also. So please keep it in your mind. Now, moving to the next article. Now, guys, sealed justice. Sealed justice. Now, see, this particular article has come multiple times into the news in the last 10 to 12 days. Even, guys, recently when we have taken this, when we have taken the 17th and 18th of the March newspaper analysis, there also the article onto the sealed cover jurisprudence have come. So we'll just be revising what is provided in this particular article, and this year it can be a very important thing. So, guys, what is this sealed cover jurisprudence? simply it means that when the judiciary is examining a matter, in that particular examination, when the evidences are to be provided, when the documents are to be provided, these evidences, these documentary proofs can be given in an open way. It means that the Supreme Court can see it, the people, the person who has been accused, he can see it, all the audience can see it. There can be an open documentation. However, sometimes the evidences or some of the documents are provided in a sealed cover. What means that whatever submission is being made to the judge, that judge will read it alone. That document will not be presented to the accused, will not be presented to the lawyer of the opposite party, and those documents will not also be available to the audience. Okay, this is a sealed cover jurisprudence. It means providing the documents, evidence in a sealed envelope to the judiciary. Now, can you provide the evidence in a sealed cover? Yes, you can provide it. There are provisions in this particular direction. First of all, when we talk about the Supreme Court, in the rule 7 of the Supreme Court rules, Supreme Court can take the evidences in a sealed cover. And secondly, as per the section 123 of the Indian Evidence Act of 1872, certain of the evidences, certain of the documents can be provided in a sealed cover to the Supreme Court or the judiciary. Now guys, the cases in which the sealed cover letter can be provided, it pertains to the cases involving the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, prevention of money laundering, anticipatory bail. See, for example, there is a money laundering case going on. Suppose there is a person. His name is Mr. A. Now guys, the Mr. A has been accused that he has laundered 100 crore rupees. Okay, he had earned 100 crore rupees by illegal means, and now he had laundered that money, and he is trying to prove that he has earned that money by a legitimate way. So 100 crore rupees money laundering case is going on Mr. A. Now that matter is there into the Supreme Court. Let's say the matter is going on into the Supreme Court. Now guys, the opposite party, they provide to the Supreme Court the evidence that yes, Mr. A has done this particular crime. If we will tell that whatever evidence we are presenting, obviously what A can do, he can hide the money, he can basically instruct his people that okay, hide this particular trail. Okay, what will happen? The investigation will get suffered. So into the cases of money laundering in Unlawful Activities Act, where there was a terrorist activity, there is some information against the national security, so some evidences can be provided into the sealed cover, and into the past it has happened also. But guys, there are a lot of criticism of this sealed cover jurisprudence. What are the main criticism points? Number one, it violates the principle of transparency and accountability. Fine, when the evidence is being provided in the sealed cover, we cannot know that what actually was there and whether the decision taken by the judiciary has been taken in line with the principle of natural justice or not. There it defeats the idea of open court. Now, what is the idea of open court? It means that the proceedings going in the judiciary are open to the people. People can scrutinize it. People can see whether the decisions have been taken onto the fair ground or not. So it defeats the open court. Fine, we cannot check the arbitrariness of the court here. Moreover, it also violates the right of the person who has been accused. When you are providing the proof against accused person in a sealed cover, obviously accused person don't know what is there, and he or his lawyer cannot defend. So it also it obstructs the fair trial. So therefore the sealed cover jurisprudence is something disturbing. And now what had happened, the Supreme Court had come out very openly and they have said that they will not accept the sealed cover evidences. In multiple cases into the past few days, Supreme Court had tore off that sealed letter and they had said that if you want to give us the evidence, give us in the open form. So this is which have come here. Earlier also we have discussed this entire article. Now we'll move to the next article. The peculiar case of Ladakh's eastern boundary. Okay, Ladakh's eastern boundary. Now guys, this particular article will see with respect to the GS paper number 2, neighborhood relations and the issues in neighborhood. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that since 2020 we see that on the line of actual control there is a boundary crisis going on with the China. On line of actual control, we have seen that the Chinese, they have come onto the patrolling points which were earlier under the control of India. Clear. So Chinese have acquired a lot of boundary into the Ladakh sector, particularly into the eastern Ladakh. Since 2020, this problem has become very much problematic. Multiple articles we have seen in this particular light also. Now, what is the context of this particular article? Now the Chinese foreign minister he is expected to visit India to meet the external affairs minister of India, as well as to meet the national security advisor, and they will discuss that how to resolve the boundary matter, how to resolve the bed boundary matter. Now, basically guys, when we talk about the Ladakh's boundary, clear, there is a lot of ambiguity that what exactly is the boundary between the India and China in the Ladakh sector. Why? Because guys, there have not been very credible records that from where the boundary actually passes. Clear. Let's say we have this India and here we have China. Now there are the different versions of the boundary. China says, let's say that the A, this is the boundary, but the India says that no, the B is the boundary. Okay, the B1, this is the boundary, the B, this one. Now, because of this thing, what happens? This entire land in between, it becomes the disputed land. A, if the China has a particular purpose in recognizing A because it gives more territory to the China, and India recognizes B, so this is a kind of a dispute that is going on. Now guys, why there is no clear cut boundary between the two countries? Now, first of all, when we talk about the Leh and Ladakh, they have been a very important places, they have been very important locations in the history. For example, we see that the Leh has been called as the crossroads of the High Asia. Okay, as well as when we talk about the Ladakh, it has been called as the land of the high passes. So into the ancient times, when the Silk Route, okay, you might have heard about the Silk Route. In this, the Leh Ladakh region was a basically it was a transitioning point. From here, the connection between the east and the west used to be made. The traders, they used to come, they used to pass from the passes into the Leh and Ladakh region, and they had carried the trade into those times. Clear. Now guys, when we talk about the Ladakh, okay, Ladakh defined the administrative control of the trade routes into that point of time. Karakoram Pass onto the north, Demchok into the south, and Zojila into the west. This was the territory which defined that what is the scope of the Ladakh. Ladakh was defined by these particular points. Now, this was into the historical times. When we talk about guys in the historical times, the grazing grounds towards the south of the Ladakh, these grazing grounds were shared with the Tibet. The people from Tibet and the people from the India at that point of time, they used to use these grounds for the grazing. Okay, now now for settling the Leh and Ladakh, there has been certain treaties into the past that had happened. For example, Treaty of Amritsar happened in 1846 between the East India Company and between the state of Kashmir. Here the Ladakh was included, but the eastern boundary of the Ladakh was not defined. Fine, eastern boundary, that is the boundary with the China, was not defined here into the Treaty of Amritsar. Clear. What was the focus? Focus was just to define the northern boundary. Why? Because guys, the Russia was a threat at that point of time, and in order to save the Indian subcontinent from the Russia, just the northern boundary was focused, the eastern boundary was not focused, and because of that particular thing, today with the China, there are the disputes. It is not clear that what is the boundary. Moreover guys, both the India and the China, they have relied on to the travel accounts or the correspondent accounts which favors them. Now, the Gazetteer of Kashmir and Ladakh, okay, basically they have also put the Chinese Tibet is a doubtful, it is not clear. Now the Aksai Chin part, fine, it has been described as a neutral territory for the long. Now, being a neutral territory, both the India and the China had claimed the stake onto the Aksai Chin. Now guys, what had happened in 1959, both the basically the expert members of both the countries, they came together and they decided that we will define that what actually is the boundary between the two countries, and several rounds of negotiations had happened. In 1993, there was the agreement on the maintenance of peace and tranquility along the line of actual control that was signed, and as part of this 1993 agreement, it was agreed that we will, through the mutual negotiations, we will decide this particular line of actual control from where it is actually passing by then guys in 2020 we have seen that in the Galwan Valley there was the incursion that was done by the Chinese, and since 2020 the situation has become problematic. Now 15 round of talks have happened and diplomatic dialogue is going on, and we are trying to find a mutually acceptable solution, but up till now nothing has happened in this particular case. Clear? After that guys, moving on, basically today this is a 70-year-old dispute, okay, and this particular dispute can only be solved by mutual negotiations, talks, as well as diplomatic channels, not by something else. And this is something that both the countries need to understand. Clear? So this is something which has been talked in this particular article. Now we'll move to the next article. Sir, can Supreme Court use suo motu for money laundering? Yes. Okay, it can do that. Fine. Okay, Amber. Now moving to the next article. Time for India to redefine its relationship with the Russia. Now guys, we have seen that multiple articles are coming on to the India and Russia relations. Okay, this article is also into the same line. I have told you multiple times that you don't need to read every article in this particular line in too much of detail, not very much important, relevant and needed. Just briefly we'll see that what is the crux of this particular article. Now basically guys, today just in the newspaper overview we have seen one article that in the United Nations General Assembly a resolution was moved against the Russia. Resolution said that the Russia has led to the invasion of Ukraine, which is wrong. What India did? India abstained. India did not voted in favor or nor against. India abstained. Now today the Indian diplomacy is facing a question that how it will deal or how it will navigate the great power relations into the future. On one hand there is Russia, on one hand there is the US. Both are important for India. Clear? Whose side India will take in this particular crisis, because it will define the future power calculus. Okay, now guys, what India has done up till now, India has taken a kind of a neutral stand. Neither India had supported Russia nor India had supported the USA. India is taking an independent and balanced position. Now understand this particular thing guys. Historically Russia has been a very helpful partner of India. We find this particular thing that during the Cold War period, we have seen that the West was sympathetic towards the Pakistan because the Pakistan has joined the capitalistic camp. Pakistan became the member of organizations such as CENTO. So the Western support was towards Pakistan. And during the Cold War, Russia was one which came for India's help. So Russia has been a very helpful partner. And we don't want to betray the Russia. This is very clear. Moreover, guys, even after the collapse of the USSR, after the disintegration of the USSR, India had supported the Russia as well as China, two countries, because there was a unipolarity that was being created after the disintegration. Now this unipolarity was disturbing. India wanted to have a multipolar world where the different poles of power needs to be there, and in order to support that multipolarity, we have supported Russia and China also. However, after 2000s, particularly after the 2005, the relation between the India and USA had become more good, and now around after 2020, with the strengthening of the Quad, that is the quadrilateral security dialogue, now the relation between the USA are even more stronger, and today making a choice becomes very much complicated. Now see, today guys, when we talk about the Russian invasion onto the Ukraine, up till now India had not accused that the Russia is wrong, but now the Russia's image is getting very much tarnished. Why Russia's image is getting much tarnished? Because see, there are two reasons in this particular direction. Number one, repeatedly we have seen that the Russian forces, they have attacked the Ukrainian residential areas. Many of the innocent people have died. In supermarket there was a attack recently that had happened, and the world is becoming very much sympathetic towards the Ukraine. The countries, they said that the Russians, they are just acting as the Hitler had acted. Okay, and here if we don't criticize the Russia, India is in a little bit problem. Moreover guys, today we find that the Russian forces, they have also actually underperformed. Okay, up till now the Ukraine has resisted the Russia, and it is being seen as a moral victory of a weaker nation, that is the Ukraine, and more sympathy is getting generated. Now guys, when we talk about this particular issue, clear, now India is also concerned for the China also. Now the China factor is also there. See, if we openly criticize the Russia, what will happen? Russia Russia will go more closer to the China, and the Russia China axis will be very much problematic for India. Today if we see, then guys, India has been challenged by the China into the Indo Pacific. Fine. Rise of China is also problematic because the Chinese rise of military, its economic power, its political power, the Belt and Road initiative that the China is taking, many a times it impacts the India's strategic interest. And if today we criticize Russia and China axis will become more stronger. So therefore we cannot abandon the Russia, but at the same time the support against the Russia is getting united. Now understand this particular thing, guys, that see, since the Cold War, India had said that we are taking the strategic autonomy. Now what is this strategic autonomy? Now you know that during the Cold War, the non-alignment was the foreign policy tool of India. In the non-alignment, we were not aligned with any of the major power. Today the strategic autonomy has become an important foreign policy tool. It means that India will decide its national interest from time to time, and only onto the basis of national interest India will dictate its foreign policy. We are autonomous. Wherever our national interest will be served, that particular side will take. Now when we talk about this strategic autonomy, some say that India's strategic autonomy is nothing but a policy of multi-alignment, that India will have multiple friends. Okay, some says that this basically it is nothing but just the rebranding of India's non-alignment posture. Fine, that India will not be partner with anyone. Some says that India will be partnered with multiple people. How India will carry forward this strategic autonomy into the present times, it will determine a lot of things. Now guys, when we talk about the Russia basically many a times, first of all, when we talk about the Putin, under the Putin, Russia has been embroiled in many of the controversies. Crimean annexation was there in 2014. Then guys, there is a historically low level of relation that are being seen between the Russia and US after the 1991 under the Putin's leadership. Moreover guys, all the time Russia say this particular thing that the USA and NATO wants to expand towards the Russia. Always they say that they don't bother about the Russian interest, but guys, this is not completely true. In the past there has been the NATO Russia Council. Now NATO Russia Council was just to address the Russian concerns. It was a kind of a platform where the Russia's concern can be taken up. Moreover, earlier G8 that was there, into the G8 also the Russia was made a partner. Now Russia was not made a partner because it was an industrial power, but just because so that the superpower ego can be accommodated, so that the Russia's interest can be accommodated. So this is something that have happened in this particular past. And guys, because of this particular changing dynamics, India needs to be very much careful as how it carry forward its foreign policy. So this is which has been contained in this particular article. And now we'll move to the next article. Farm income fell in 4 states panel. So guys, this particular article talks about doubling of the farmers income. Now first of all, we'll be discussing about little of the background, and guys, this particular article will be important for our GS paper number 3, issues related to the agriculture. Now when we talk about doubling the farmers income, in this particular capacity in 2016 the committee was established under the chairmanship of Dr. Ashok Dalwai. It is also called as the Dalwai Committee, or the Committee on Doubling the Farmers Income. Now this particular committee had calculated the farmer's income in 2015 and 16. So whatever the farmer income was there in 2015 and 16, it was taken as a base income. Let's say that the farmer were earning 100 rupees in 2015 and 16. So the target was taken that by year 2022 this income will be doubled. It means that the 100 rupees income is needed to be turned into the 200 rupees income. So 2015-16 was taken as a baseline. Now this particular income were taken onto the basis of data provided by the National Statistical Organization, NSO. So by 2022 the incomes were to be doubled. However guys, a few months back the government had said that actually this deadline of 2022 is being extended to 2024. That also came. Now basically we see that during this particular period, that since 2016 government had taken many initiatives and farmers income has increased. How much it increased? It increased by 27%. But number one, this 27% is very much less, because by 2020 the income was to be doubled. 200% increase, 100% increase was to be there. Income was to be doubled. Obviously we will not be able to reach this particular target, so the target is falling short. But at the same times, we basically it is being said that certain states have seen a decline into the farmers income. For example, the Jharkhand, 30% drop into the farmers monthly earning has been there. After that, Madhya Pradesh, Odisha, Nagaland also has registered a decline into the income of the farmers. So now the government needs to take some urgent steps that how it is to be done. Why, where this particular thing has been discussed, this particular thing has been carried by the parliamentary standing committee. Clear? So the parliamentary standing committee had said that the incomes have actually declined. Fine, the incomes in 4 states have declined, where the national increase is just 27%. We have to do 2x increase by 2022, but just 27% has been there. So some urgent steps should be taken by the government. So this is all, guys, with respect to this article. And now we'll move to the next article. Now, this particular article taken from the Hindu newspaper, and it will be important with respect to the GS paper number 2, issues related to the health. Now, basically, what the article says: India to be TB free, tuberculosis free by 2025. Fine. Now, guys, why this article has come? Because the World Tuberculosis Day has been observed. 24 March every day. 24 March every day is observed as the World Tuberculosis Day. Is it clear? Now, what India had said in this World Tuberculosis Day, that we will make India TB free by the year 2025. By the year 2025, we'll make India TB free. First of all, guys, let's understand some of the basics with respect to the tuberculosis. So what is tuberculosis? Tuberculosis is caused by the mycobacterium, which is a bacterial disease. Now it impacts the lungs. When we talk about, guys, the tuberculosis, mycobacterium impacts the lung. Now the tuberculosis, there could be 2 types of tuberculosis: latent TB, and then there is active TB. What is latent TB? Many of the people, they have been infected with this mycobacterium, but they don't see any symptom. There is no symptom is there. There is no problem that they are facing. This particular bacteria is lying latent. Then sometimes what happens, this latent TB, after a particular period of time, it turns into an active TB, and active TB is one where the people see some symptoms, and this is the point where actually the detection also of the TB is done. Clear? So now if we see with respect to the TB, around 1/3 of the world, 1/3 of the people, they are infected with the latent TB. 1/3 of the TB patients, they have TB but they don't know it. 10% of the latent TB cases, they progress into the active TB. Now 1.8 million deaths by the TB had happened in 2015, and 95% of the deaths have happened into the developing countries. Okay, why? Because into the developing countries, the detection is very much weak, the treatment regimen is not very much strong. The symptoms are the coughing, weight loss, chest pain, fatigue, fever, loss of appetite. Now, guys, with respect to the TB, the treatment drugs that have been approved, these are the drugs, though you don't need to go too much into the detail. Okay, isoniazid, okay, ethambutol, okay, pyrazinamide, and rifampicin. Okay, this is the drugs that have been suggested. However, a big problem with respect to the TB is that sometimes the bacteria that you are treating, fine, basically these are the antibiotics that are being given. Now the antibiotics that are being given for the TB, sometimes the bacteria, it becomes resistant, and then the drug resistant TB comes, and if the bacteria becomes resistant to multiple drugs, it becomes the multi-drug resistant tuberculosis, and here treating the TB becomes problematic. Now, guys, for the TB, the DOTS therapy is given by the government free of cost to the people. DOTS therapy is given to the people free of cost by the government. Now, guys, when we talk about the TB, the target has been taken that by 2025 we will make India TB free. Now, if we see actually why this target has been repeated, because, guys, in 2021 we find that actually the TB patients, they have increased by 19%. Okay, the 19% increase in the TB patients have been there. So therefore, we have said that now we will be focusing more. Okay, now in this particular direction, the 18 states, they have committed that they will end TB by 2025, and they had prepared their state specific plan and the district specific strategic plans for the TB's eradication. Moreover, guys, see, you know, the sustainable developmental goals are there. Within the sustainable developmental goals also, the eradication of the TB has been discussed. There, the TB is to be eradicated by 2030. But India had taken the target of 2025, that is a 5 year earlier than the target that have been taken into the sustainable developmental goals. Now, with respect to the TB, there is some extra information also that I want to give you here. That with respect to the TB, guys, we used to have a program that was the revised national TB control program. Now this revised national TB control program's name has been changed, and now the program for the TB's eradication is called as the National Tuberculosis Elimination Program, NTEP. So please see, the name change has been there. Moreover, understand this particular thing, guys, that the goal to end TB by 2025 had recently got a boost. One more development had happened. Basically, we have developed the True Nat MTB molecular True Nat MTB TB test. Now, World Health Organization recently had declared that this True Nat MTB test, which is used to diagnose the pulmonary and extrapulmonary TB, it has shown a high accuracy. This particular True Nat test, it is a battery operated diagnostic tool. It can be used into the TB centers in India, and large number of people can be detected. Fine. Basically, I told you that when we talk about the TB, many of the people, they have the latent TB, they have the TB but they don't have the symptoms. So basically, diagnostics, okay, and identification of TB into the earlier stage is very important, and for that, the True Nat MTB diagnostic test that has been developed indigenously will also be helping out. So this is, guys, all about this particular article. So with this, we come to an end to the today's newspaper analysis, guys. I hope that you have understood this particular article. So that is all, guys. We'll be meeting tomorrow. Till then, please take care of yourselves, and if you have liked this video, please do hit the like button and please do subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much.